Hello everyone, in this video session we are going to focus on chapter 5 quantitative methods, and before going into the detail, let's focus on the outcomes of this chapter. At the end of this unit you will be able to identify basic concepts related to basic quantitative research methods, and you will also be able to explain the role of reliability and validity in quantitative research. At the end of this unit, you will develop basic skills in quantitative research so that you will be able to comprehend published quantitative research materials. And at the end of this chapter, you will have a critical view of when and how to employ quantitative research. To start with, first of all, we need to understand why do we use quantitative methods? Because quantitative methods provide the researcher with accurate and reliable data. With the help of the tools, with the help of the questionnaires you use, you reach accurate and reliable data. In addition to that, quantitative method enables to describe populations and phenomena in a detailed tradition based on figures or data. You collect a lot of data from your participants, from your populations, and then you present this data with the help of tables, and you have the opportunity to analyze all these data in a very detailed way. Then it also provides the political scientists to make some propositions out of the relationships between two or more variables. With the help of this data collection process, you have some variables, you have some data to analyze, and based on this, as political scientists, you can make some assumptions and propositions on this data. In quantitative research, we have some different research types, and the first one is the descriptive research. As the name suggests, descriptive research describes a particular situation or case as detailed and elaborated as possible. It also helps the classification and organization of some taxonomic categories. As you remember, you collect a lot of data, and with the variables in it, you have the opportunity to classify and organize some taxonomic categories. In addition to that, information is collected with the help of descriptive research so that the social scientists can describe the characteristics of the population. You get some information about your sampling, about your sample, and based on this sample, you can read some detailed information about the tendencies, the attitudes, the perceptions of your population. And finally, descriptive research selects a representative sample. It can be random or through some different sampling strategies, and this sample of participants presents your population, and then based on the sample you describe your population. You have some more ideas, you present more ideas about the behaviors, attitudes, and tendencies of that population. And descriptive research, in a way, describe the population that you want to reach. The second one is the associational research. As the name suggests, it enables for understanding or identification of relations between certain variables. You can do it in two different ways. The first one is correlational research. It identifies how one set of variables are related to another or enable the researcher to make some predictions. As the name suggests, it focuses on the correlation, on the relationship of one or two set of variables. On the other hand, you can also have some causal comparative research, which attempts to determine the cause and consequence differences that already exist between identified set of subjects. For example, the study conducted by Weinsheng and Daves in 2017 can be an example for this, because they aim to investigate whether biological and psychological factors play a role in the formation of political interest. And this causal and comparative focus can be a good example of causal and comparative research. Thirdly, we have experimental research. However, although it's a unique way of research, it's not so common in political research because it demands, in a way, manipulating the independent variable in the experiment. But as you know, it's very difficult to isolate the participants, the variables from their social and cultural context. For this reason, it's very hard for a social researcher to interpret whether the results are due to these independent variables. It is very hard to test the effect of a treatment or an experiment in social sciences, because social science is dynamic and you cannot take your focus from your social context. For this reason, experimental research is a little bit difficult to conduct in social sciences. On the other hand, there is a growing popularity on survey research, and there is an increasing interest in benefiting from survey research, especially in the field of political sciences, because it presents some opportunities to build up theories, to use the empirical data, and to understand the attitudes, behaviors of the participants, and to comprehend the dynamics in the society. And it also enables the social scientists to manipulate the data, to do more complex analysis on the data, to understand the relationship between social variables. For this reason, survey research is getting more and more popular, especially in political sciences. And there are some different types of surveys we can use. The first one is cross-sectional, and I put some keywords so that it might help you remember the key points in these survey designs. The first one is cross-sectional, and it refers to it's conducted across a predetermined population at one point at a time. And you can also conduct cross-national surveys, which are administered in various contexts. We also have national time series, in which the data is collected over the years. And we have also election surveys, in which we have the opportunity to analyze the voting behaviors of the participants. And we also have some panel surveys in which we collect the data from similar samples, but in different times in a year. And to do your survey research, first of all, you need to prepare a good instrument. And to write a good instrument, to write good items for your instrument, we need to have some principles. The first one is that each question should have only one single objective. In your items, you need to focus on just one single objective. Secondly, you can adopt the same definitions and concepts throughout the survey so that your items can be consistent. It would be better if you avoid some negative or double negative expressions such as I don't dislike, because putting some double negatives might lead to some ambiguity in your survey instrument. And the questions, the items you use should be very simple and very easy to understand for the participants. And after you have your instrument, your items are ready, you start the data collection process. In today's world, we can collect our data through face-to-face interviews. You can also present your questionnaires or standardized interviews through mail or online platforms. And we also use social media a lot to collect our data in those days. And telephone call is also another opportunity to collect your data. And one of the basic things about doing a research is, of course, having a good research question or questions. And again, we need to be careful about these 4 items while writing our research questions. First of all, they must be feasible so that there is available time, energy, and sufficient budget to investigate the phenomena you are focusing on. Secondly, it must be very clear so that the participants and you as a researcher shouldn't have any ambiguity. Number 3 is the significance. Your research questions should be significant. They should be worth to investigate in a way. They should contribute to the literature. They should contribute to the field you're investigating. And number 4, it must be ethical, indicating that any research should harm no human being and no living being. And in your research, of course, you will have some variables. And variable is a concept that may refer to any variation in a context. It can be gender, education, nationality. They are all counted as variables. We have 2 types of variables, quantitative variables and categorical variables. Quantitative ones are divided into smaller chunks, such as weight in kilograms or height in centimeters or age in numbers. But on the other hand, we have categorical variables such as gender, marital status, married, singles, or divorced. They do not vary in degrees. They are just a part of a category. And while reaching your participants, while deciding on the participants that you will select for your study, we have two important terms. The first one is samples, who are only about a part of a population, and we also have a census in which we try to include the entire population. But it's very difficult to reach all the population, all the people we are focusing on. For this reason, we need to decide on some sampling strategies. And here, the most important and probably the most common one is random sampling, which enables every member in the population to become selected and be a part of the study. Everyone in your population has the potential to be a member of your study. Secondly, stratified random sampling. In this sampling strategy, you divide your population into smaller groups, into clusters, and you get your data. And then we have systematic sampling, in which the selection of a sample systematically works from the population. And we also have cluster sampling, in which the assignment of subjects are included not one-to-one, but based on each cluster identified. We also have purposeful sampling, and in purposeful sampling, we employ it when the researcher intentionally is interested in a population with a certain knowledge. Here, we intentionally focus on the sample because we think that they will provide us rich amount of data. And finally, we have convenience sampling. In that case, it is more feasible for us to reach this sampling. It's not easy for us to conduct a random sampling. For this reason, we reach to the people whom we are able to reach. I mean, it's not more preferable these days because it does not enable the researcher to generalize the findings. For this reason, it's not preferable these days, especially in survey designs. And for our research, we also have two very important terms, which are validity and reliability. Validity refers to the correctness, appropriateness, meaningfulness, and usefulness of the data and the relevancy of the data collected through your instrument. In a way, if you want to, for example, focus on the voting behaviors of people, you need to use an instrument that focus on the voting behaviors. I mean, the focus of your research and your data collection instrument should be parallel so that your research can be valid. And the second important term is the reliability, which is related with the consistency of the scores obtained. I mean, the data you collect should be consistent in itself. If you can achieve this, that means you have a reliable study. And at the end of your study, the ultimate goal is to collect data with both high reliable and validity degrees. And in this unit video, we focused on the basics of quantitative research. We also focused on the research designs in quantitative research. We touched upon the data collection procedures and sampling strategies. And finally, we revised validity and reliability issues.